our first panelist under the age of 5.
Okay. We have to watch the cables and all that with her.
We'll be careful. I'm on cable duty.
You're the cable person? If I got a problem, I got to call the cable.
We're just going to call you Larry.
Larry. All right.
Larry.
Hot Laura, Larry. It works.
Yeah, you know.
There you
You can be Laura the cable girl.
go. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Daddy, shut the gate.
All right, we're live.
Yep. And kicking.
And feeling 22.
Hey.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
Just a little bit tighter now, baby. Hey, you mentioned alive and kicking. So.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2022.
Woo!
Good riddance, 2021.
What better way to celebrate New Year's Day than a live doubleheader? And this is the first episode of today. It's great to have you with us. Who is here today? Let's see. By the way, we should mention that Roadway Whiz on the Road is being brought to you by mdroads.com for all your information that you need to know about the state highway system in the state of Maryland. The Mrs. and Mr. MD Roads are the hosts here in the suburbs of Baltimore. They've been very kind to let us into their house for New Year's and the celebration. We're very happy to be a part of it. So I'm glad to take the show on the road for the first time in forever, and bring this set of episodes to you today. So, Laura, hi! Thank you very much for letting us in.
You're welcome. It is our pleasure, and we feel honored that this is the first, Roadway Whiz virtual tour and later webinar to, be live on location in the metropolitan area of the subject matter. Woo!
That's right.
So we're happy to be here. Me, Mike, and our sweet 2.5-year-old daughter, Rainey, who has, been featured on the show before. She'll probably be providing some commentary. You want to say hi?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Yeah.
Word.
So Laura, her husband Mike, and her daughter Rainey are with us. We also have Doug is here from gribblnation.org. Hi, Doug.
Word.
We got Anthony from suburban Connecticut.
Hello.
We've got Scott from here, from Wisconsin, is joining us.
Hey, everybody.
Nice to see you.
Or as Steve would say,
Well, it's nice to have you finally for an in-person contribution.
hey.
Scott made the trip all the way from Wisconsin to be here today. And this young man over here, we shall just call him Corco, but he is here from Connecticut, and then before that, Idaho.
Wherever I am, yes.
Yeah. So we got a good panel for you. A lot to talk about. So let's get right into it, shall we? You're getting right into those goldfish, aren't you? Yeah. That's right. Go fish. Doug, what do you want to talk about as far as Gribble Nation stuff right
Gribble
now?
Nation, we're right in the thick of things. We did a lot of our year-end podcasts on the Gribble Nation Roadcast, which is at Anchor FM/Gribble Nation. I'm also working on a mini-series about all of the covered bridges in Maryland.
Woo!
Yes.
Maryland covered bridges.
There are 6 historic covered bridges.
There
Yes,
are.
Yep.
One of which is just a few miles down the road here in beautiful Hartford County, Maryland.
I have to go and get some retakes of photos tomorrow
Awesome.
on my way out, because when I was starting to work on that article, I found out that there were, a few years after I'd taken pictures, they renovated the bridge.
That's right.
So I'm like, well, Mike, it'd be helpful if I got some before and after pictures.
Awesome. Fun fact, the MD Rhodes couple got their engagement photo shoot at Jerusalem Mill and at the Jericho Covered Bridge.
I remember that.
Yeah, so then that's what Doug's working on. As far as what I'm working on for the blog, Tom and I are going to go down the rabbit hole of the Hawaii State Highway System on the island of Oahu and start to really write up all the history of those routes, and then the different iterations of the state highway system there. So that's going to be a long-term project for us that we're very excited about, because frankly nobody has actually gone to the trouble to tell the story until now. So there's a lot to unpack just with that island, so we'll be busy for a while as far as that goes. As far as YouTube stuff, working my way through North Carolina, interstates, other freeways, all that other stuff that you love and don't love. So you see where we are today, January 1st, the start of a new year. It's a special doubleheader day.
Was that Urban Meyer eating microwave pizza?
I believe it was, yeah.
Urban liar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he bought it at Fred Meyer.
Yeah.
Not though.
We do want to take a second to acknowledge a couple of significant individuals who have passed away in the last week. I have on screen here Harry Reid, who was a longtime senator from Nevada. He was Senate Majority and Minority Leader for a number of years in the 2010s, in the 2000s, somewhere in that range, representing the state of Nevada. Las Vegas McCarran International Airport was recently renamed in his honor, and he passed away this week at the age of 82. Now, if you're a football fan, or maybe if you've never watched football at all, chances are you've heard of John Madden, who passed away the other day. A lot of people don't even know that before he was a TV personality and before he had a video game franchise named after him, he was a Hall of Fame head coach for the Oakland Raiders. His team won Super Bowl 11. He has the single highest win percentage for a head coach for a minimum of 100 games coached. And I think it's still by a long shot that he holds that record. I think he won over 70% of his games. Which is pretty damn impressive. John Madden passed away this week, and
He was a bit of a road warrior too, with the Madden Cruiser.
he did. Yeah, he did have the cruiser, right?
Yeah, basically he logged about during football season. He logged about 80,000 miles a year, and it's basically it was a renovated bus.
Yeah.
And basically, he kind of fell in love with basically going through America that much. Basically fell in love with like certain places, certain restaurants, and when you go through like towns, like there'd be like small towns where he'd stop to basically use a payphone to do an interview. And so basically, like, oh, is that John Madden? So basically, the entire town would come and greet him.
Yeah. Yeah. So a real titan in the history of the NFL. No doubt. I want to talk some football real quick. Well, this is the college football final. We had the semifinals last night on New Year's Eve. Alabama easily handled Cincinnati. Georgia easily handled Michigan. Yeah, so it's a rematch of the SEC championship in the college football final. I mean, let's be honest, this is the matchup that everybody has wanted. From
ESPN.
Yeah, well, ESPN and, yeah. So
Yeah, I would have been okay with Cincinnati and Michigan.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, I would have been okay.
No,
Michigan,
I don't think you'll get over that
Cincinnati
one
is
for a while,
completely
Mark.
Yeah. So I don't really have any thoughts on the game. I just feel like it's Alabama's game to lose as far as I'm concerned. They're just on another level altogether from even Georgia. So that's my thought. Well, we mentioned John Madden. It's week 17 in the NFL. The playoff picture is starting to come into focus, and there's a bunch of stuff to unpack here as far as where teams stand and where teams are going and who's going to make it and who might not make it. What jumps out at you here, Scott, as far as the NFC bracket?
Well, I don't see anybody standing out like this. The one that beat really is not Green Bay. I think it's Tampa Bay more than any of the other teams, but there's a lot of sleepers in this, especially with the fact that COVID's been hitting the NFL. It can be anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And right now, Kirk Cousins tested positive, so Minnesota is now kind of a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got a few teams that have already clinched playoff spots, right? You got Green Bay, Dallas, and Tampa have wrapped up their divisions. The Rams and Cardinals have locked up spots, but the division out west still has to be decided between the two of them. And then San Francisco and Philly can clinch spots tomorrow, depending on what happens around them. But I think that you're looking at the 7 teams that are going to represent the NFC in that 1 through 7 already. I don't see anybody from below that line making a run or catching one of those two. I'd be surprised if by the end of tomorrow that there was still something up for grabs. As far as a playoff spot is concerned, of course there's seeding that still has to be decided. But
All things considered, Minnesota's pretty much done because you know who they're facing. It just says it right up on the screen.
Yep. It's over in the AFC. The AFC is fun because it's an absolute cluster. There's only one spot locked up at this point. Kansas City has clinched the West. Everything else is up for grabs. The other 3 divisions and the remaining wild cards are still undecided at this point. The thing that jumps out at me about the AFC is that 1 through, say, 10 on that list, like any one of those 10 could get into a tournament style format and make a deep run. I think that the AFC is just so evenly stacked this year with all these teams, and it's hard to really separate one from the rest as far as I'm concerned. I know that Kansas City's out front and they've been playing good football lately. They've demonstrated this year that they can be beat, so I don't fear Kansas City like I might have in past years.
Kansas City had a slow start this season.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Basically Denver's on a respirator right now. A loss or a win by 4 or 5 of the teams here will just knock them out.
Yeah.
They should have been knocked out last week, personally.
I'm not even sure how Denver is still
Mathematically.
alive in this.
Just by math.
Just by
the sheer number of teams they let into the playoffs now.
yeah. I know they let an extra team, and there's still just as much drama for playoff spots as there was before. So
Well, that's exactly the
and you get an
idea.
extra game
Yeah.
to watch.
yeah.
Keep as many people in the running as long as you can.
Yep. So
Well, look at it this way. Tennessee doesn't have 59 scenarios they have to follow.
no, ours is very simple.
4 of them.
Yep. So
Win and you're in.
that's it. We just got to take care of business tomorrow, and we win the division, and then you see what happens after that.
And of course, going back to you were saying like COVID could affect basically how things are done. The same thing is happening right now in the NBA and the NHL as well.
Exactly.
I noticed that the Islanders, who have had a road trip scheduled to Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton, next week or later this week. That entire road trip was canceled.
Yeah, the difference is that those leagues are not about to start their playoffs.
Is that?
Right. And also,
Well, the NHL, they
Keep in
canceled
mind-
their Olympic break.
keep in mind Canada is kind of now on cross border as well. So that's probably a good contributor to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Somebody doesn't like the Jets.
So we got all that stuff out of the way. First up on this doubleheader episode is the Beltway encircling our nation's capital.
The Beltway and Beltway politics.
I feel as if somebody is watching us right now. On the screen somewhere.
Peel off!
It's Shapiro off!
Drake! Is that shield even in the field anymore?
It is. Yeah,
Do you still
there are
find-
non-zero surviving examples.
Okay.
I think one's probably still hanging by a screw.
I don't know if there are any on the highway itself, but there definitely are on roadways approaching interchanges.
There is
to
at
it.
least one on the highway by Silver Spring. However, it's kind of hanging by a screw, like I said.
Right. Okay.
So the loop around DC is about 65 miles or so. You see it here highlighted on the screen. Splitting its distance between the states of Maryland and Virginia. And also there's a little sliver of which that technically passes through the District of Columbia itself. I know. So that's our drive for the first hour.
Hey, Mr. Andre.
In case you're wondering why she's saying queen, 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 I have a 22 tiara, you know, because I'm feeling 22, and she saw it on my head and decided that she was going to be the queen.
There you go.
22.
Alrighty. She's taking your job.
She is.
Long live Queen Rainey.
Queen Rainey!
Alright, so this trip around the loop is 55 minutes long. It'll take you on an inner loop drive around DC in the clockwise direction. So here we go.
So clearly you didn't run into Mr. Nestor, therefore.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, well, okay. Right out the gate, we can not deal with the Capital Beltway without talking about the infamous story of Mr. Nestor. I believe his first name was John or something like that. Yeah, he was employee of a couple of federal agencies. I believe actually the FDA at one point. And he was notorious for the fact that this was back in the days of the National Maximum Speed Law. He would commute to work on the Beltway, and he would get in the left lane and set his cruise control to 55. And this was bad enough that during rush hour, he solely caused traffic jams by doing this. And eventually, the news media chased him down and figured out who it was, and interviewed the guy, and he was very bureaucratic about it. It's like, well, I'm driving the speed limit, so why can't I be in the left lane? Nobody should be going faster than me. Why don't you move over? Well, why should I inconvenience myself for someone who wants to speed?
Yeah.
And so if you've ever heard the term nestoring, it refers to, at least in the road geek world, driving slowly in the left lane. It more broadly may refer to compulsively following the letter of the law to a T, with complete disregard for the consequences of doing so.
I should mention that we are actually not on the Beltway yet. We're driving east on I-66. This video was filmed about a year and a half ago, and this shows the progress at that time in the I-66 expansion work that's going on, which I believe is going to be done in the next couple of years.
I'll just say that as a driver of 66 this year, it is still a mess. Although it's still a little bit messy around here, so they're taking their sweet time.
No getting your kicks.
No.
That's the other 66.
The other 66. Right.
but as you can probably see now, there's about to be a shift in road.
Yeah, so we will join the Beltway in the inner loop direction here at I-66 and start our trip in a lap. Yes, that is a 2.5-year-old kid in the background that you're hearing.
Tyson's Corner, I kind of want to touch up a little bit on this. How many skylines are there around D.C.? I know of the one in right next to the D.C. border in Arlington County, and then there's Tyson's Corner here, and
or they prefer to be called Tyson's these days.
yeah.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
Why?
They've outgrown being but a corner.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, actually, yeah, literally outgrown. I mean, they're more than just that. I mean, yeah, there's not that.
Right, it was
Tyson's.
Tyson's Corner, taking its name from it being the intersection of two roads where someone by the name of Tyson had set up shop. Well, now you see it in front of you. It's a little big for those britches, so they just want to be called Tyson's now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good for them. have they filed paperwork with the U.S. Geological Survey or whoever it is that names these things?
No, they
Post
just do
office?
it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Tyson's
okay.
is actually not a true city.
Oh,
It's actually neighborhood.
I think it's, yeah.
I
Isn't
know
it?
it's a census-designated place, though, right?
I'm not sure.
It's not. I don't think it's incorporated, is it?
Well, it is not an independent city, therefore no, it is not. Remember, in Virginia, if it is a city, it is not part of its surrounding county.
Gotcha.
So it would be either citizens designated place or a town.
Well,
One of those two.
right. Well, and as you can see here, VDOT has not acknowledged the dropping the corner.
Yeah, if you go off on the left, you'll be either going to the airport or taking a toll road.
There was one sign that said Tyson's Exits, but that's about it. That was probably
Yeah.
space considerations.
Well, what's in your wallet?
Yeah.
Not that building, I can tell you that.
Theoretically, you can not take a toll road and also not go to the airport. However,
Do we want to talk about that loophole?
Let's do it.
of course we are going to talk about that. So right, so if you head west from here on, so there's actually two roadways. There's an inner roadway, which is the Dulles Access Road. It takes you directly into Dulles Airport with no westbound exits or eastbound entrances until you get there. And then straddling it on the outside is the Dulles Greenway, which is a toll road. Now, if you don't want to pay the toll, you can take the Dulles Access Road into Dulles Airport, make a U-turn, come around and take one of the exits and not pay a toll. However, it is technically illegal to do this, and the Metro Washington Airports Authority police do watch for people doing this and enforce it. However, the loophole you can exploit is that you're allowed to use the access road for conducting any sort of business at the airport. So, if you stop at the gas station and get gas, if you go inside and buy a pack of gum, if you park and go inside and use the restroom and get back in your car and don't even buy anything, you'll get away with it.
But then you have to pay to park or pay to buy gum
Right,
or
so-
pay for overpriced airport gas, which none of this sounds like a good...
But the difference might be cheaper than the toll.
Airport price go,
Yeah.
airport price gas.
Just remember, the difference might be cheaper than the toll.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
this is a thing that people do.
How do they enforce it? Do they just...
They will just pick random cars that they see driving into the airport and follow them. And if they see you turn around and head right back out, they'll pull you over.
Do they use unmarked or marked cars?
That I'm not sure of.
Okay.
You
so
said
they
that's
get-
the airport's
so a
police
cop
who does
follows
that.
But it is the airport police that do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've tacked on a shoulder lane on the left here, which I assume is open during peak hours. So there's that.
This is generally a good assumption with
The George Washington Memorial Parkway, which is the exit coming up. My understanding is that they're going to be doing. There's some money put aside for reconstruction.
Well, I think yeah.
Eventually,
Recently, yeah.
aren't they going to be expanding the toll lanes up further north?
Well, I think that's the wish list item. The bigger priority right now would be doing something with the American Legion Bridge.
Right. Well, and that's part of the problem with the toll. Yeah, you can see the toll lanes have ended here as we're approaching the last exit in Virginia. Is that basically right? In order to extend them meaningfully further north, you'd have to extend them across this bridge right here into Maryland. And the state of Maryland has a decidedly different attitude about that. Or more specifically, the county of Montgomery County has a decidedly different attitude about that. The state government, at least, is currently all for it and trying to make it happen. The local residents in Montgomery County do not want it to happen and are fighting it tooth and nail.
This is why we needed certain Montgomery County residents to be here today to state the case. That's too bad.
It's fine. We're aware of at least the general situation.
Yeah.
Montgomery County does have a very long history of opposing the construction or expansion of freeways.
Yeah.
So, it is very in character that they do not want any toll lanes extended here.
Yeah. So welcome to Maryland, everybody.
Woo! Maryland!
The state with the best state flag.
Yes.
I do like that state flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honorable mentions go to Colorado and Arizona.
Yep.
Maryland, the old
And
Bay State.
California.
New Mexico's underrated simplicity doesn't strike you as beautiful.
That's it. Honorable
Okay,
mention.
yes.
I stopped at Wawa this morning and I could get Old Bay seasoning in my mac and cheese.
See, they say that they put Old Bay on everything in Maryland. They're only half joking.
This is true. Old Bay on everything is so good.
I remember one time I was down here, this is a number of years ago, and I stopped at this bar, restaurant. They had Old Bay seasoned chicken wings.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. I love Old Bay on chicken wings,
It was
on
a good dry rub.
fries.
Yeah.
Fries. Don't forget crab dip.
You put Old Bay in the crab dip?
Yeah.
It's Maryland.
It's
Marco.
Maryland.
I know, I
Don't
appreciate
question
it.
it.
It sounds delicious. I know, before asking for it, like,
Well, I think I know now what we're getting in the intermission, right?
Yeah. We're
But
gonna.
again, I come from a place where people will dip their mozzarella sticks in raspberry sauce. So
Say that word again.
the people dip their mozzarella sticks in raspberry sauce.
Mozzarella?
Mozzarella.
Mozzarella.
Coming up with the junction on I-270Y here.
Mozzarella, hon.
What do we want to say about the 270 split and then?
Right. Originally Interstate 70S. Once they got rid of the letter designations, the road to DC became 270. The thing is, it splits at its southern end. One roadway feeds you into the Beltway going in this counterclockwise direction. The other feeds into it going in the other direction right here. And so that is signed as 270 Spur. It is internally to Maryland SHA's logs I-270Y. So the
Why
letter
not?
Y.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why ask why? Try Bud Dry.
Right, and so now here, after that split, you notice we've only got 6 lanes. So now we're very much on one of the sections of the Beltway that does not look that much different than it did when it opened half a century ago. Plus, it really has not seen any upgrades in this area, and again, that also starts to come back to Montgomery County being Montgomery County. However, between the 270 splits, by virtue of being between the 270 splits, there is less traffic. So there's also part of how they get away with still only having 6 lanes here.
And it has a nice Parkway feel, almost.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Just no low bridges.
Bucolic, Montgomery County.
Yes. Where they do not have a sheets.
They don't?
No?
My understanding is that they do not have a sheets in Montgomery County.
Did they NIMBY away the sheets too?
Yeah.
It's Montgomery County.
Everybody but
What?
the 7-Eleven.
Yes.
What a bunch of assholes. Jeez.
Bunch of 7-Elevens, huh? Any Wawas?
Nah, I don't think that's Wawa country either down that way.
Unfortunately.
I think the Wawa split is basically the I-95 corridor, basically south of Baltimore.
Mm. I like this section of the Beltway because of the, as we said, this is a stretch that hasn't really been improved upon since it was built. So you still see a lot of the old style roadway geometry here with the curves. There's more of these curves coming up here in a couple miles, but if there's
Maryland 355, originally US 240.
I thought it was the
Which
middle
went up to Frederick.
And well, Maryland 355 still goes up to Frederick, though it now ends at the city line.
Yeah.
But there's still some signs inside Frederick.
There are still some
Officially,
signs
yeah.
inside Frederick that
But
the
officially
that the-
it-
right
officially
that
it
the,
is the city line.
that the city has been putting up, and right, and this does generate the debate of, well, does 355 technically exist within the city of Frederick because there are signs? But the answer, according to the Maryland State Highway Agency, is no. It's not.
yeah, so here are more of
It's the opposite
those.
of what Baltimore City does, which is not sign anything.
Well, not anything, but poorly things.
Yeah.
Inconsistently.
Yeah, so this is that stretch I was talking about with the curves in it. This is also roughly in the area that the metro system is building the purple line. Is that roughly? It's roughly in this area, isn't it?
Yes, right. So the west end of it is in Bethesda.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, have you considered Metro?
Absolutely not on this
Is the
day.
Metro on fire?
This would have been the
is the metro derailing or running full service? Still no.
Not
is the
yet.
answer. Yeah. Right. Well, and so with the curves in this section too. This bit of road has been widened a little, but this is also another one of the sections where it would be an administrative struggle to try and do much to it, because a lot of this was built through parkland, which when it was built you could get away with. Now there is an item in federal law known as Section 4F, which makes it very difficult to take parkland for construction, and that includes widening roads that already go through parks. If you ever see this section of the Beltway widened, it will either be that the express lanes will be elevated above it here, so that there's no additional taking, which is one of the state of Maryland's proposals, or if they actually manage to expand horizontally, they'll have really managed to pull off some amazing paperwork.
Narrower lanes.
Yeah.
That's always my pet peeve about roads. Is like, oh, why don't we just narrow the lanes and remove the wide loads?
No, not on an interstate.
Not
You don't
happening.
do that.
Yeah, well, you
Especially
can't
Beltway.
really do that.
No.
If you want to narrow lanes on an urban roadway, that is a common and popular thing to do, and the justification for it is that it forces traffic to slow down. Which, yes, okay, fine. In a city center, that's fine. Not on the freeway.
Yeah. I think right in this area we passed the famous Mormon Church, right?
It's better visible in the other direction, however.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You can see the top of it if you're going the other direction.
Yeah, they were going up the hill here. It would have been like if you're looking.
It,
back
it,
from
it,
here.
it should be to our back right about now, yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a mosque.
That's where the infamous Surrender Dorothy picture was taken.
The railroad overpass.
Yeah, the overpass we went under a second ago.
1997, the Wheaton, home of the longest escalator in the metro.
And one of the longest in the United States, period.
Uh-huh. And you need earplugs to use that.
How long are we talking? Like what's?
100 and something feet
Yeah.
vertically
Oh, wow.
in one shot. Yep.
Hmm.
West 29, Silver Spring.
Yes, it's our first encounter with US 29.
Yeah, there is an encounter later on the other side of the belt.
Well, this is part of the nature of being the Beltway is that any road that continues through, you will encounter twice. However, they're not really, well, partly because it spans 2 states, there aren't actually that many roads that we will encounter twice. There is only U.S. highways and exactly 1 interstate that we will encounter twice, and in fact share company with for quite a ways.
Mm-hmm.
Said interstate was intended to go in through D.C., but that never came to fruition because of freeway revolts.
Yeah, the DC Freeway Revolts were quite a doozy, and most of the freeway system in the district itself got wiped out.
Oh yeah.
As a result.
Yeah, more so than in many other American cities, and part of what goes with that too is that the District of Columbia, by virtue of the fact that it hosts a lot of federal government facilities that don't have to pay property taxes, really struggles with its property tax base, and so giving up more taxable land to build bigger roads would have been more financially painful for them than it would have been for any other city in America, really.
Pretty much all trees here, so kind of nice and beautifully forested. If you love trees, if you love buildings, you'll see that later.
Well, this is the bucolic Maryland side.
Exactly.
You know?
Artificially bucolic, but nonetheless. No, that's the other thing too. Is that this road looks far more rural than it is. If you get off at any exit, there is a lot of development very nearby on both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mostly suburban, obviously, for the fact that the main city is confined. Oh, speaking of 95, here it comes. 1 mile away. And it's not on the left side, despite what the sign said.
Yeah, so this interchange coming up with 95 was built originally with the 95 continuation into the district in mind. So nowadays there's a park and ride facility off to the right here. But that was originally built on right-of-way that was preserved for the 95 extension that never got completed.
Yeah, the other thing here is if you're approaching this interchange from 95 from the north, today there is a multi-lane ramp from, that splits off to the left and takes a nice sweeping curve to merge into the Beltway. When the interchange first opened, that wasn't there because, again, it was built assuming that I-95 was going to continue. And so traffic going onto the Beltway in this direction had to take a 1-lane loop ramp for quite a while. And the other thing to note is that 1-lane loop ramp is actually still there. You use it if you want to exit to Route 1, you're directed to go that way because the ramp coming in from the left on 95 doesn't give you access to the exit to Route 1. So the loop ramp is preserved for access to Route 1. Mm-hmm. And then it goes into this little CD roadway over here.
Yeah. We've picked up I-95 now.
Well, we're about to, coming in from the left.
Here it is. We also picked up Andrews Air Force Base as a control city, which is interesting.
What is it now? Joint Base Andrews? Something like that?
I think so.
JBAB.
Yeah. So due to the elimination of 95 through a lot of the District of Columbia itself, it's been redirected around the eastern half of the Beltway.
It doesn't keep 95 all the way out of D.C., period. We'll see that later.
Yeah.
The other interesting decision to use the east side is that between the two Beltway 95 junctions, if you go around the west side, it's actually a couple miles shorter. But due to the lack of improvement in Montgomery County, often not faster to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
Greenbelt Station. Seems like this one exit that's pretty exclusive to that station.
Yeah, actually, right. That exit will take you directly into the parking area for that metro station, which is the end of the Metro Green Line.
Yep.
Yeah, I do like the signage there. It's very, very unique.
Is that MUTCD compliant?
We're not in Montgomery County anymore, are we?
No, Prince George.
PG County is like the local name for it.
Yeah.
And with a toddler present, we will be keeping it PG County.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
Not doing a good job. And no trucks left lane. Yeah, that one's kind of get close.
He's not in the left lane. He's okay.
Exactly. Washington Baltwash Parkway, also known as the Baltimore Washington Parkway.
Which a lot of like GPS services and what have you are basically trying to route people on the Baltimore Washington Parkway these days.
Which if it's not congested, is often actually faster. But that's an if.
Yeah, it's only a two lanes each way road versus
north
95.
north of the Beltway, sure. Yeah. The other big thing where people get routed is through DC on it, where you do at least mostly have 6 lanes, but it does back up a lot. And if it's not backed up, watch out for the speed cameras.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That's a DC special. They love to
Cables
put.
without notice.
Yeah, well, right. Well, so Maryland has speed cameras too, but importantly, they do not have them on freeways except in work zones.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling exit 22.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, of course, with the speed cameras in work zones in Maryland, apparently it is right near the porta potty. So look for the porta potty.
Yes, that is their other big thing. They like to hide the truck with the cameras right behind a porta potty. It is also interesting to note that there are speed cameras not in work zones off of freeways, but they're pretty much almost entirely in Montgomery and Prince George's counties. The rest of the state, they're not really a thing.
Yep.
Did you know?
Outside of the city of Baltimore is really the one other place where they exist.
Did you know that when I-95 was rerouted, they truncated in '77 the I-40-95 to the other portion,
They did, yes.
and then it's like most of the regionals didn't like that, so it's like okay, in 1989 they redesignated the east.
They decided it would be less confusing if they had one number for the entire Beltway. So
Yeah.
they
Go
right.
95.
Yeah.
So the east side is 95 and 495 concurrent.
Yeah.
So speaking of porta potties, Rainey has a
Oh, here we go.
public service announcement. Come here, honey. Let's give our public service announcement. Come here.
Oh, we're coming up. Oh, this is perfect because we're coming up on the Washington football team stadium.
All right, Rainey, get ready to sing.
Ready?
Have to go potty. Stop and go right away. Be on your way. Go potty, go potty,
And
go.
one thing to note, as we come near the signs for US 50, you'll see that there's a blank for another route shield, which is I-595.
Is that confirmed?
Oh, interesting. So
Yeah.
that's why the blank is there.
That's why there's a space there. Yeah.
So
Well,
they just
right, when-
wanted to finish the job.
Yeah, so the Interstate 595 designation was created for funding reasons, and they decided against signing it because they realized, what's another shield going to do? Everyone already knows the road is 50; it'll just confuse people.
Well,
So-
they haven't taken lessons from Wisconsin yet.
So it is one of the country's many unsigned interstates. But yes, it runs from the Beltway here. It is not part of 50 inside the Beltway is not 595. You may have noticed back there the pair of signs. The one 50 West did not have a blank space, and then it runs from here all the way to the Severn River Bridge east of Annapolis.
There's a good question on here from one of the chat people. It says, do the speed cameras have tolerance?
The ones for Maryland, by state law, you must be going 12 miles an hour over the speed limit in order to get a ticket from one of them. The ones in D.C. do not have a specifically published tolerance. They try to avoid publishing a tolerance because they don't want to give people permission to speed. But there is one, yes. It's not going to ticket you for 1 mile an hour over. However, if it does, the ticket's valid. So, up to you how much you want to trust it.
Yeah.
In Maryland, if you get a ticket from a camera for going 11 over, you can get it thrown out in court.
Oh. Okay.
Because state law does stipulate it must be 12 miles an hour or more over. In D.C., any tolerance in the cameras is purely DDOT being forgiving. They can ticket you for one over if they really want to.
As you might have noticed, you said it was a year ago. This is definitely something that you did during pandemic lulls.
Yeah, this was June of 2020. And, I know. I was gradually making my way back from a weekend in West Virginia, and so I stopped here on my way back north.
No, you didn't. You just drove
Kept
around.
going. But...
I just drove around in a circle and then kept going north from there. Yeah.
No, it is interesting. It has been noted that even now, traffic in D.C. is not back to normal, unlike in the majority of American cities, and that's just because so much of the employment base in the D.C. area is the federal government, and the federal government is still entirely working remotely for all of it, who would otherwise be normally office employees. So yeah, even downtown DC now, especially you notice. I mean, I was there about a month ago, and yeah, it was really quiet during the day during the week.
I did notice that, and the only traffic jams are caused by traffic lights back in August. Synchronized traffic lights.
So we've kind of done a half circle at this point. We started off pointed north on the western side of the loop, and now we're pointed more or less south on the eastern side of the loop.
I think 50 would be roughly antipodal to 66.
Yeah.
You figure the both of those highways. Well, all right, 50 continues through, but not as the same freeway. Those two roads kind of logically would hit each other.
Got a little bit of a split here at the time.
This one is temporary.
Yeah. Well, this
It's
is
gone now.
I think
It's gone now.
I think this is the Daniel Snyder Memorial Bridge right here.
Oh, yes, the Daniel Mark Snyder Memorial Bridge.
That's right. Yeah.
Hail the footballs. Well, speaking of, we're in Landover, that's where the old Capitol Center was, where the Washington Capitals and time the Washington Bullets, played before the Verizon Center opened.
Did they ever play at the Forum across from RFK Stadium, or was that never used for hockey?
I don't think that was ever used for hockey. It was the Capitol Center in Landover.
Okay. The Verizon Center's not that old, right?
Yeah, about 20-something years. I think it opened.
So it's about as old as Verizon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been how many mergers there?
Mm-hmm.
It was the MCI Center for a while too. It started out.
Yeah.
I just
MCI,
remember
I remember MCI.
MCI. I remember.
They go beyond the call.
I remember James Earl Jones doing those Bell Atlantic commercials.
Yes!
Way back in the day. I think that got
bubble
eaten up into what became Verizon eventually.
They did. They did have James Earl Jones doing advertising for Verizon, and also even customer service voiceover. Like it used to be if you had a Verizon cell phone and you dialed a number for a call that couldn't be completed, you would hear James Earl Jones telling you that this call cannot be completed.
Wow.
But yeah, because what is now the Capital One Arena was, Verizon Center, and then prior to that, MCI Center.
Hmm.
You have failed for the last time.
That's right.
Your call has been disconnected.
Right.
Andrews after.
That Darth Vader, of course, being James Earl Jones's most famous role.
Yeah.
But not far from his only one. He was
yeah.
he was also in The Sandlot, notably.
Mm-hmm.
Field of Dreams.
Yep.
Is this
Why
heaven?
is Mufasa telling me my call has been
Right.
disconnected?
Well, at least he's not involved in the. Is this heaven line? No, it's Iowa.
No, he was. No, this is.
There's a disturbance in the call.
Yeah.
She wants up.
The stretch that we're on now that passes by Andrews Air Force Base, this is another one of those original sections of the highway, which has been expanded somewhat over the years, yet you will still find a lot of original early 1960s era overpasses and other infrastructure, such as old light poles, and there might even be some old signs still on the intersecting highways.
Surely.
Yeah. But in this general area here, yeah.
Right, that's the thing. While you get the 8th lane in here, they still just the median is still just W beam.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you can tell all those upgraded sections in Virginia have concrete barriers now.
Upper Mormon.
Maryland Route 4, which will eventually be subtracted from Maryland Route 2 to go further south on it.
That's right.
Maryland -2.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we have to do when we run out of route numbers and uniform numbers.
Yeah.
fractions.
Yeah.
And in spite of Maryland having routes numbered all the way up into the 900s, they are not out of numbers.
No. And
Not
in
for
fact,
lack of trying, though.
Right. Now, Maryland 2-4 is one of the rare instances in the state where the routes are signed are often signed as Maryland 2-4.
2-4.
2-4, yes.
Whereas
Yeah.
then you also have Maryland 24 in Harford County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar arterial. It's it's the 2 and 4 might be the most longest, most useless concurrency anywhere that I know of.
In Maryland alone?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any others except like, because I could see them just rolling back, since Washington is more important than Baltimore. I can see them rolling back too, all the way up to Sunderland, where it comes in northern Calvert County.
Yeah, because if you're talking the nation, Wisconsin's 41 can argue with it.
I-41 has entered the chat.
Well,
Georgia has entered the chat.
even more so, yes.
Florida has entered the chat.
Florida at least doesn't sign them everywhere like Georgia does.
Exactly. That's the
I
thing.
appreciate
Most southern states do have hidden designations for their U.S. and interstate highways that are state route designations. Georgia has unhidden designations for them that they sign throughout.
I still think Wyoming is where you have, in Douglas, Wyoming, and in Casper, you have I-25, US 20, US 26, US 87, and then exiting off of that is business I-25, business US 20, business US 26, and business US 87, all 8 routes well signed. That's great.
That's just a little bit too much. Is the business ban?
Gotta be fair,
across
nobody
the
gets
whole
left out.
thing?
Yeah, I think generally it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know they did that in
yeah,
Sheridan.
yeah.
I think they sign a lot of the state highway concurrencies in Indianapolis, for instance, on the 465 loop.
No, they don't.
They don't?
No.
I thought, don't they just put up a sign, like, as you approach from the state highway saying, follow 465, whatever.
Right, but once you get on there, it's just 465.
It'll be a little crazy
They
if
do
it's-
sign is 74.
Do you want to note here that we just passed Branch Avenue, the other end of the Metro Green Line?
Have you considered Metro?
Yeah, I'll consider it harder when it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might be waiting a while. Grab a Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Or 1,000 Snickers bars.
They actually
Or a million Snickers bars.
put up signs at some of their turnstiles, basically warning people of unusually long waits, saying, before you come in here, are you really sure you want to try and take this train? That's how bad Wilmota is.
Oh, here comes the roadway split.
The permanent split. Yes. Right.
Express and local. Misnomers, in my opinion. You say express is on the left, through and local, I'm sorry. gotta get it right.
Well, right.
So, because you got, it's looking at it from a Virginia's perspective. Because you got the locals having exits on one side, and then you get the through having exits on the other side of it.
Well, it is worth noting here that most of these exits cannot actually be accessed from the through lane. So there is a reason that they sign it as such. Because if you want one of these exits, right, you should use the local side.
Yeah, see, through exits, and then
This
they're all in Virginia.
This configuration dates to the new Woodrow Wilson Bridge construction. The old bridge in this location did not have a split carriageway system. It was also lower to the river, so it opened more often.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You still have a drawbridge.
You do still have a drawbridge, and that is because while the new bridge is higher, so it opens less often. In order to build it high enough to avoid having it have to be a drawbridge, it would have ruined the view shed of Alexandria, and they didn't take kindly to it.
Yeah, I think
So
National Harbor really objected to it also.
Well, so National Harbor, National Harbor is a newer development. It didn't really factor into this, but it was really more Alexandria. And they argued, well, there's all these historic structures. There's a historic district. If they have this huge modern bridge in the background, it'll spoil the view, and and federal environmental law does require that you consider things like that when you build. What will it do to the view? So there was a reason that there's a reason that there is still a drawbridge coming up here.
And of course, Dan's poised to take the local.
Right. Well, and if you're going through, you can take either roadway. They do both join back together. It's
Right before the
simply a question that there are a few of these exits, such as the exit to 210 Indian Head Highway, that you have to go on this side if you want it. There isn't an exit from the other side.
Right, like 295. 295.
And then also
Interstate and DC.
Also,
and
therefore,
MS.
the exit into National Harbor.
Yeah.
Which is a right. National Harbor is a community that was created out of nothing, just completely built up in what was undeveloped land. Within the past 15 years or so, it's home to a convention center, a couple of hotels, and some apartments. So it's a very manufactured community. And if you've ever been there, it feels such. It's also very much a walled garden because this ramp coming off the Beltway, plus one side road past the casino that comes in basically almost from near here. There's really only one road in or out of National Harbor. There are several other places where roads dead end where they could connect to other roads in the surrounding area, but they don't. They forcibly don't because the other neighborhoods that were there first didn't like the idea that people going to National Harbor might suddenly start driving through their communities. So it therefore is a little bit of a planning disaster, and that there is an utter lack of connectivity. Can't get there from here.
Yeah. You've got a brief view of the water as we came across that hill before.
Yeah.
And, oh look, there's trees growing on the bridge.
Yeah, this is part of the Wilson Bridge Trail, which connects Alexandria. I think it links in with National Harbor also.
Mm-hmm.
Which is right directly to the left here.
And now here we come to the Wilson Bridge.
Wilson Bridge, named for the former United States president from 1913 to 1921. He was the president of the United States during their involvement in the First World War. That's probably what he's most known for.
Also has something in common with our previous president, in that he was president during a pandemic and caught the disease that was causing said pandemic while he was president.
Mm-hmm.
And we come back into Virginia.
Virginia's for losers.
Yes.
Boo.
And it's not for people that use radar detectors.
Radar detectors. Ego.
Yep.
No, well, and so this is one of
Death to tyrants.
very few drawbridges still on the interstate system, but it is nonetheless.
How often does it open up more than once?
A few times a year.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah,
not a big thing.
Very rarely open.
The problem with the old bridge is that it opened almost every other day. It was that low to the water.
Right.
And there's still a significant commercial presence upstream in the district for boat traffic. So that bridge lifted all the time almost. So yeah, but I think I read somewhere that it opens maybe 40 or 50 times a year.
Okay.
Which is a significant improvement over what used to have to happen there.
I get so many flyover ramps in this area. If Alexandria is complaining about the bridge being so high, they should complain about all these ramps.
Well, I think the ramps are not as high as the bridge would have been, and also because they're in a different place, it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more obviously in view when it's over the river.
These power lines are really obstructive to the view. They shouldn't have built them.
So are these light towers.
Yeah.
In Alexandria. And
Metro,
Alexandria is also
yellow
another
line
city
that
that has
just went
a
under
slight
there.
skyline, by the way.
Like Old Town Alexandria is a neat little area to
Oh yeah.
spend some time in.
US 1 pretty much goes through that. That was the second crossing of US 1, by the way, Anthony.
Yes, right. Well, as we said, we will see any roads that go through. We will see them twice. We have now seen US 1 twice.
There is one question that I want to bring up that I guess this kind of goes back to what we were saying about 95 through the district not ever coming to pass, but would we have seen the kind of widening on the Beltway that we see today if 95 had been built through? I suspect that we still would have seen a decent amount of improvement over the years, even with a completed 95 through the district. But I don't know if we would have seen like the kind of improvements that Virginia has implemented, for instance, to that level.
It is worth noting that a lot of those improvements are on the part of the Beltway that is not 95. And that is motivated, by and large, by just development along the Beltway in that area. Traffic might have taken 95 to get into DC or to go through, but realistically, I think the greater consequence to 95 through the district not being finished is seen on surface roads that come in from the north. Roads like Connecticut Avenue and Georgia Avenue, where we're right. During rush hour, there's an awful lot of traffic, coming its way in the morning and out in the afternoon on those roads. Because if you want to go north out of DC, your options basically are you make your way over to Baltimore Washington Parkway or you use surface streets.
Neither of which is a good option.
And I'd be telling you something right now. I-95 does not enter DC.
Well, it technically did in the middle of that bridge back there, though.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I was waiting for everybody to say bull.
Yeah, for a tenth of a mile in the middle of that bridge, and this is just because, right? So the District of Columbia has its borders drawn on its 45-degree angles, and and the border continues on that angle down into the middle of the river. So,
And the Wilson Bridge crosses it.
It clips the very southern tip in the middle of the river.
Yeah. Exactly. So whoever would say that would be full of it.
The other place to watch out for actually is on George Washington Memorial Parkway. There is a section where it is on an island in the middle of the river, not on
one carriageway only.
No. The southbound roadway is also on that island for a length, just a much shorter length. And this is noteworthy because it's not necessarily immediately apparent that you're entering and then leaving Washington D.C. But you are entering D.C. You are subject to D.C. law, and people who are Virginia residents with Virginia permits to carry firearms, which are very much not valid in the District of Columbia, have been known to get in trouble driving on that section of roadway with their firearms in their car. So if this applies to you, take note, be careful. Leave your gun at home or don't take that section of road.
And now we come to a cluster blank of an interchange.
The Springfield Interchange.
Which,
Yes. Also known as like
the mixing bowl.
exactly.
But yeah, and yes, and like the other I-95 junction, this one has been greatly, actually much more so than the other one, rebuilt from its original configuration, and also more recently, this flyover ramp you see to your left here, which carries 95 South now, that opened in 2003, 4 thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
I remember going through it basically when they were doing construction on the interchange.
Yeah, that area was under construction for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, now you have free-flowing flyover movements pretty much in each direction here.
Yeah, instead of loop ramps that.
Yeah, I think there might be 1 or 2 loop ramps still left, but.
And plus, you also had to add the express lanes.
Right, well, and the express lanes were a later modification. The original reconstruction of this interchange from now almost 20 years ago did not involve express lanes, but they have now been added.
Yeah.
And yeah, these express lanes, right, you need to have an easy pass in order to use them. There is no toll by plate option. If you're in there without a tag, you're getting fined. The state of Virginia does offer Easy Pass Flex transponders, which have a switch on them and can be switched into HOV mode, which will allow you to not pay the toll if you've got at least 3 people in the car. The interesting thing about this is that while in theory anyone is eligible to get that discount if they are an HOV, only Virginia, Maryland, and New York, if you're a resident of Staten Island, actually give out Easy Pass Flexes. So you need to have an account from one of these places in order to be able to take advantage of it.
You would think that at some point they would allow Minnesota Easy Passes.
Well, and this is an interesting note is that Minnesota now has joined the Easy Pass network, and they too have a switchable transponder. However, their transponder is different. It still piggybacks off of their old passive system as opposed to Easy Pass's active system. And because of this, one of Minnesota's transponders, even if you switched into HOV mode, no, it will not let you use the HOV without paying a toll in this area, and that's on purpose too, because these express lanes are run as a public-private partnership by a company known as Transurban that wants to make money. So therefore, they very much have interest in not just giving away free rides to people that they don't have to.
Yeah. Whereas Minnesota's is mostly public.
Yeah, are those the ones in Minneapolis are operated by Minnesota DOT, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
MnDOT, yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a justified reason for doing that business-wise.
And yeah, this is worth noting because right, you cannot get the Flex from New York unless you are a Staten Island resident and they need address verification. And Maryland and Virginia both will give out these tags, but Maryland will charge you quite a bit of an extra fee for it. So you have to use it a lot to make it worth it. And Virginia will in fact take it away from you if you don't use it frequently enough. So it's not like you can just get an account with one of these states and say, hey, I have it for the occasion, I need it. Nah.
Is there a reason why they're so stingy with the Flex transponders?
Because they're more expensive to manufacture.
Oh, they are, okay.
So they don't want they don't want to give the Flex transponders out to anyone they don't have to.
Which is all,
yeah. There's a difference is there still a difference in speed limits from the express and local lanes?
I believe the express is 65,
Yeah.
the locals is 55.
Note we are coming up on US 29 again. Yeah, there you go.
Down to Fairfax and Mormon Church.
Which has not yet been renamed in this area. It has been renamed in some other areas.
Yeah.
Very, very piecemeal fashion. So, so a lot of this road heading south from DC, which is 29 here, but it's also then 11 further south, carries the name of a certain Confederate general. Some towns along the road have decided to change that, but it's been every town doing their own thing. They've come up with their own different names, and they've only been able to rename their own pieces. So there's no real coordinated effort.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Virginia to do so much.
Well, we're closing in on the end of this lap around the Beltway. Yeah, that's right, sweetie.
She wants us to go do it again.
It's funny you bring that up, because when I was in Charlotte this past year, obviously that's where Adam lives, Adam Prince.
Yeah.
And his kids have started watching some of my stuff, and so I filmed the 485 loop back in April or whatever it was, and I uploaded it, and I'm like, you know what, Adam, you can just sit your kids down and have them watch an endless loop of driving 485 in a circle all day.
Well, actually, yes, and if you play a video of a Beltway on loop, it will literally just be a loop.
That's right.
The only hint you'll have that you aren't actually going around in circles is that the time of day will never change. The sun won't go down.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day loop.
Funny, I saw that same car about an hour ago.
No, well, it is worth noting that when the Capitol Beltway first opened, it was in the local news that, hey, there's this road you can drive in a complete circle around D.C., and several people who lived in the area at the time, not even road geeks, normal people, thought this was amusing and decided, hey, I'm going to go drive this road in a complete circle because I can.
That's right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sunday drive? Yeah.
Sunday.
Right, that was back when Sunday drives were more of a thing that people did.
As long as they weren't Nestor.
In the era when America still very much had a love affair with its automobile.
Yeah.
Those where we originated on this video, 66. You want to take 66 east during the AM rush hour? Be prepared to pay a lot.
At least you can pay to do it now. It used to be that during rush hour it was HOV only, and that was that.
Yeah.
It's obviously climbed up to even $40.
That was one of the concessions that allowed it to actually even get built at all inside of the Beltway. There were a few concessions. One was the HOV restriction during rush hour. Another was the fact that it was mostly only built as 4 lanes. And the third is that, in spite of being an interstate highway, it prohibits trucks.
So how many laps could I do around the Beltway on a tank of gas as our video comes to an end? 65 miles roughly per lap. So I could probably do, I'd say 6 laps on a tank, at least in my car. Your mileage may vary.
Literal application of that statement. Very good.
That's right. We're going to take a quick break here as we've reached the end of our first Beltway feature. Let's take a 5-minute break. Let's regroup and we'll be back because Baltimore is next.
Baltimore, hon!
Word.
Now, is the camera still rolling, or do you have our voices paused?
No, we're still rolling.
Oh, we're still rolling.
Yep.
They
Can I
see
use
me
your
rolling.
Can I use your phone charger?
Do you have an iPhone?
I do not.
Okay. 'Cause
Is
an
there
iPhone.
a
I think
different
husband,
one
I
over
think
there?
Husband has one.
Okay. Yeah, because my phone's just about
Yep.
dead.
He said he's got one.
Oh, John sent us a link so we can stalk him.
They see me rolling. They hate it.
There you go. There you go. Put that in there.
All right.
Android?
Okay.
Many drivers on loop roads apparently think on a NASCAR race. I'm making another left turn. And I'm making another left turn.
No, this one doesn't work.
It doesn't work?
Nope.
Oh,
It
crap.
has to be compatible.
Yep.
Okay, husband, that didn't work.
Looks like this one. That's all right.
Good legs.
You gotta find a charger that works. Actually, maybe I got one buried in. Is my laptop bag there? I gotta find. Let me look in here. Hey, look, there's a goldfish. Yeah, I don't have one in here. I think I got one out in my car though, so I'd have to go and grab that at some point.
Hopefully, husband will be able to find one.
Well, I'm on 3% with my phone right now.
Hurry, husband, hurry! Run, Forrest, run! This is the perfect time that if you have to go potty, stop and run. Flush and wash and be on your way.
That's right. Be sure to flush the Washington football team down the toilet.
When are they going to announce a new name? And why won't the new name's going to be the football team, right?
I don't think it was ever intended to be, but it's become so popular that now it would be really a shame if it was anything else.
I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Nobody wants the Red Hawks or whatever. Like that's boring. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Is that the proposed plan?
Well, I think there were a few, yeah. Like, they were looking at, like, presidents and...
The Washingtons.
Yeah.
You can tell from Baltimore because I said Washington.
Washington?
Washington.
That's why we call Josh George.
George.
I never ride with horse, but
Go potty, go potty, go potty.
I was going to say, no making fun of people that aren't present. We can make fun of Josh later.
He says, with any luck, he should be in the area around 3:30.
well, he sent us a link to stalking.
Okay. Yeah, what was up with that? So now he's live on Waze?
Apparently.
Is that what he's doing?
Where is he?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Let's see.
Quick, someone who has the Waze app.
Yeah, use
He
this
is
on Roku.
updated less than 1 minute ago. He was in.
You want to try this one?
Yeah. Here you go.
He's north of Fredericksburg. He is on
Here you go.
995.
Oh
He's
no,
almost
it's
to the
not that
Beltway.
long.
This doesn't work either.
It doesn't work apparently, husband.
No.
I think Deanna's going to his car.
I'm gonna have to go out to my car.
Nah.
Does the cord not work, or does the box not work?
The connection into the phone doesn't work.
Oh, well,
It's not
Kind of
compatible.
like different, like USB connection, like USB-C or something like that.
Oh, was that an old style Android charger
Yeah.
as opposed to the Samsung one? That'll do it.
Okay, so George is he's just past the Prince William Parkway.
I have no idea where that is.
Northern Virginia.
Oh, he's in Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's almost to the Beltway.
He's
Yeah,
almost to the
that's-
Capitol Beltway.
That's one of those parkways that Virginia a few years ago gave a primary route number to.
He's taking some. Well, no, just that weird, right?
Laura,
Yes, dear.
it's another one.
Oh, okay. Well, Dan's going out to his car.
Okay. There we go.
Actually, his phone's here, so let me try it.
Yeah, okay.
That would be funny.
Now I know that
I
one
got it
works.
hooked up.
Nope. It's still the wrong kind of plug.
It's a different plug.
Yeah, no, he needs the Samsung USB-C.
Oh, okay.
That's the key here.
Try that over to me.
It has to be a Samsung USB-C. It can't just be a regular.
Well,
I thought it was.
the point is,
an
it's Samsung phones that use USB-C.
Okay.
Well, my Motorola used to.
Okay, I guess a lot of other models have moved to it now,
Yeah.
but Samsung was the one that did it first, at least.
Gotcha.
USB-C is starting to become loose.
I know, right? Well, my previous phone was LG, and it had the plug like he had there, but.
Yeah, here.
Oh, it's almost 3. Old. Starting to do weird things.
Gadzooks.
Yeah. People can told I have to get an iPhone. So
You do not have to get an iPhone.
I know. I'm gonna resist.
Yeah, is your girlfriend making fun of you for being a green texter?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got that.
As does every other girl, right?
Yeah, okay.
I
Didn't have a
got that
girlfriend,
from
right?
my ex-girlfriend as well. She's like, it's like, I noticed like you're an Android user. I'm like,
This is what the cult of iPhone does, and yes, at least I can give you advice on this one that is something you are not required to cave on. I am happily married to a woman I now met more than 7 years ago, and I still have an Android phone. So if I can do it, so can anyone.
Well, now I feel like the bad guy because when husband and I got together, he had an Android and I had an iPhone, and now we both have iPhones.
Boo.
See, my argument is always, I see it as evidence that I should not get an iPhone. The fact that you're insulting me for my text message.
Hey, I never insulted him.
Well, you never. Well, I'm sure you didn't, but
some people do.
yeah, like that tells me that I shouldn't get one.
I mean,
Like,
at
that's
this
a ridiculous thing to whine
Right. I
about.
mean, at this point, there are so many apps that are like FaceTime.
Right.
Who cares if you have FaceTime? But back in the day, that was kind of like, FaceTime.
Well, I don't want to be able to see my face when I talk to people, or people to see my face when I talk to them.
I mean, now we have, well, we've always
You like
Skype,
receiving
but-
text messages that say so and so liked
Yeah.
your previous message in
Yeah.
quotes.
Yeah, I see it too. I'm like, oh, they must have an iPhone.
Go potty, go potty, go
No, actually, they just
potty,
pushed through an update on my message app, and now I can see the reactions as like little reactions.
Android has the reaction to that? Oh,
It
jeez.
does, yeah. So we're moving
My
in the
phone
right
doesn't
direction.
have this, but
Alright, I gotta get
But
rid
yeah,
of this thing.
but yeah, you used to get like
You,
you used to get the text that said like,
Yeah.
or if they reacted with any other reaction.
I
it
still get
It
that.
says reacted to.
Right.
It's like
Well, you know what?
Okay.
Also-
I don't know what the reaction.
Start
was.
with that.
It depends on your specific carrier and
Yeah.
what how new your phone is, whether they
Well,
push
may
the
have to
update that
switch
way.
seats.
As of 20
Okay,
minutes
either.
ago, Josh was
so
just
I'll
on
do this.
PC and getting to the explicit.
I mean, I know for a while I was not able to see any emoji that weren't the original base set, basically until I got a new phone.
Oh yeah.
Because there were no, well, and my wife used to take advantage of this too, because she would text me middle finger emoji and I couldn't see them.
So
So she'd just be like, "I'm flipping you off and you can't even see it." Haha.
so the workaround I always
So the first thing I did when I got my new phone is I texted her a middle finger emoji. Of course.
Yes.
The workaround I used to do was too. You could log into Verizon and access your text messages on your computer, and then I would copy the square and paste it into Google, and then it would show me what the emoji. was.
See,
But yeah, it would take a long time to do
That
that.
sounds like work.
It was work, but
Work,
if a girl texts you like a random emoji and you can't see it, you kind of want to know what.
I guess
See, y'all should just get iPhones.
the key here is you say a girl, is this is someone you're just trying to date. See, what I would always do with my wife is I would just be like, all right, what is that?
Right.
I can't see that. What is that?
Well,
You got to tell me what that is.
Well, now I have a girlfriend and a phone that receives emojis, so I this is no longer an issue in
All right.
any way, shape, or form. But it was a couple years ago.
Moving on. I hope
Oh,
you
are we
enjoyed
live?
this little
Oh, are we still, is
intermission.
this mic still hot?
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
that's
still the
fun.
show.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know.
You didn't realize this? Of course, that's how it works, dude.
I hope you enjoyed that little halftime banter.
Including
So-
our official theme song, right? Go
Yeah.
potty, go potty, go potty.
The
go.
official fight song of the Washington football team.
Hail to the potties.
Yeah.
You can
The
tell
official
they're-
theme song of the halftime flush.
You,
The halftime
you can tell. You can tell at this house that the MD Rhodes house is ruled by a 2.5-year-old right now.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
In case you didn't hear her in the background.
Is she
for
using the
last
potty
hour.
yet?
So she's sort of.
Okay, making progress.
We're
at
making
least.
progress.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Speaking of which, where is she and where's husband? We can't get started without husband. He's like.
I imagine that wherever they are, they're likely in the same place.
Let me see if I can go find them before we get.
But you may want to confirm that. Be a responsible parent.
Yes.
yeah.
Hey, Mike.
So this is the William Martian Highway.
What's that?
The William Martian Highway. The Jetsons Martian.
Yeah, well, see, I'm losing that reference.
From
Look at the shape of the highway.
Okay, that's a stretch.
What do you think?
It's very much a stretch.
This is the map of the Baltimore Beltway. I have it highlighted here. And this is going to be our next drive today. It's a bit shorter than the Capital Beltway. The Capital Beltway was about 65 miles. The Baltimore Beltway is about 50, 52, something like that. Somewhere around that area.
50 miles.
Okay.
About, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
How
Hey,
many-
there they are.
There they are. Husband, how many miles is the Baltimore Beltway?
51.5.
51.5.
Right.
So grab your crab cakes and
the
hit
miles
beef
start.
And your Old Bay.
and your Old Bay.
And your Baltimore accent, hon.
The miles start.
A reminder in case you weren't with us when we started, but we have doubleheader episode 2 tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern. We look forward to bringing you this one. Also, I want to plug what we're doing next Saturday on the channel. We're bringing back the... I know, she's very sad to hear this, but we're bringing back the Virtual Road Meet series with an all-in-depth look at Hartford and Central Connecticut. So we hope you can join us next Saturday for that.
America.
That's right. It's a
So
lot
the
of stuff.
viaduct's named after an insurance company.
Yeah.
The rising star of New England.
Sweetie, it is our time to shine. We get to tell everyone all about the Beltway.
Yeah, a little bit.
Alright, this video is a little bit shorter. It's 46 minutes. And your trip around, this is again, I believe, this is the inner loop of the Beltway.
We like our inner loops, apparently.
We do. There's a bit of a theme there, yeah.
So where are we starting?
95.
We are starting
Just
on...
south of-
So we're on 95 North right now.
Be between the Beltways section of it.
Yeah.
How much shorter is the inner loop than the other loop? It's got to be a half mile.
Yeah, I mean, right. It would be logically be the shorter direction, but
Yeah, so we will join the Beltway momentarily and start heading in the inner loop direction.
as you get cut off by a New Yorker, very good.
Yeah, well,
Expected.
as we said, the Baltimore Beltway is about 51 miles in length. It's signed for its entirety as Interstate 695, although there is a wrinkle to that we'll talk about the state highway designation of part of that highway. I think we need to send help for Rainey.
Who's very much trying to protect her face from attack with a dustpan.
I like this strategy myself. You know, some people might find that an inadequate defense mechanism, but I like her style. She's got to clean up Corco's grocery store.
You are sitting in the cashier seat of the grocery store.
Oh, am I?
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that was sitting right in front
Oh,
of there.
I
Yeah.
really made a mistake then. I apologize.
We told you were going to be the grocer. You did not.
Now, unlike the Capital Beltway, there's a little bit of Badger interchange type thing.
Also note here where signed is getting onto 695 west towards Towson, and those astute with maps may note that Towson is not west of where we are.
No,
No, it is not.
So,
Also-
Beltways are weird that way.
So what's interesting about this particular interchange, and husband, you can help fill in here, is its unique shape was to preserve an old tree. You want to tell?
The arbutus oak was located in the center of this interchange, near. It was only accessible now off of one of the ramps. It was over 300 years old, and it was on Old Sulphur Spring Road, which was one of the roads that was cut off by was going to be cut off by the interchange. So when they built this around 1970, they made sure the geometry didn't touch that. I think only recently did it. Only the last few years I think it blew down in a storm.
Yep.
Well, no tree lives forever.
No.
But this is not Maryland's only old tree, which they've made efforts to preserve. There also was one on the eastern shore at Y Mills.
Yeah.
Yes.
That blew down in 2004, and they went and made a desk for the governor out of that. The remains of that.
right, so that's something
Yeah.
something that Maryland and Connecticut have in common. They have governor's desks made out of the wood from a famous tree.
Right. Yep.
Because Connecticut's governor's desk is made out of the wood from the Charter Oak.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I was the one in there on the Connecticut state border.
I do notice how almost every major highway in Maryland has a snow emergency law.
Yeah, which occurs less than 5 or 10% of the time if there's snow cover in this area. It's like, yeah, we just cannot drive
So,
because it's close to the.
hey, Rainey, why don't we make a little less noise? So because, the pandemic has made, the past 3 years feel like a century, the Arbutus Oak, split in half and fell in 2019.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's actually a lot more recent than I remember. Because,
Probably keep the spot as a memorial, though.
I mean, it's really hard to get to. So
You'd have to like stop on one of those ramps in the middle of the interchange and jump over a guardrail.
Well, we know some people in the road geek community who would do that.
Well, the other key question here is this: what sometimes does happen when really old trees fall over is if the roots survive, a new tree may rise up from the roots. I know this has, for example, happened with one of the famous old trees in Kentucky that Daniel Boone once holed up in.
This is happening with the Baltimore tree in the town of Newburgh.
All right, so I don't know if the Arbutus Oak's roots survived. If they did, there may still be reason to preserve the spot.
yes. Another notable thing that happened, there used to be a pedestrian footbridge near the Arbutus interchange, and a tractor trailer struck that on June 8th, 1999, and one driver was killed and 6 others were injured. So
Yeah, they never rebuilt that.
they never rebuilt that bridge.
Hmm.
It was we're at Shelburne Avenue. Okay, and this on the left here is the SAK's communications tower. It's in the center of the southwest cloverleaf with US 40. And in Baltimore speak, they call the routes 40 east and 40 west, meaning which side of town you're on. Pulaski Highway would be 40 east, and this side would be 40 west, Baltimore National Pike. So they have a little different use of that. Yeah, we'll be on 40 west one.
Now, this section that we're on now was constructed in 1958. So provide a little bit of history. Is that now good, or should I wait?
You do you, man. You got your
We
notes.
do have to talk about the Control City local traffic.
Yes, we do.
That little town local traffic.
So,
Little
yes.
town local traffic right in the middle of a parking lot.
Yeah, but no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Do what you
no.
wanna do.
Well, I mean, first we'll talk about I-70 since we're here. Yeah, so the reason that it's, west to Frederick and east to local traffic is because I-70 was planned to continue into Baltimore City. And as you'll learn in on tonight's show, that you'll learn the history of that and how that got canceled. So basically now I-70 just ends a few miles east of here at a park and ride at the Baltimore City line.
And yet it has a really nice stack.
And and soon will in fact end at that stack. AASHTO has already approved the truncation. The signs have not changed, however. That truncation was supposed to be part of the construction of Baltimore's Red Line, which subsequently got canceled. They were going to take one of the carriageways of 70 out for the light rail construction. There is now still an intention to eventually just redesignate that last couple miles of I-70 as a state highway.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's supposed to be it was going to be MD 595 when it gets done. But there's no like real priority to get that done. But that would be what it would.
Right. Well, and it's also a note that it's interesting. So the exit that we passed after 70 was for Security Boulevard, Route 122 there, and that is also the route that the freeway for I-70 ends at. It's called Security Boulevard because there is an office of the Social Security Administration on it.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. And it's also that was designated in 1999 and picked up by the state in exchange for a bunch of other mileage of Baltimore County, including Old North Point Road. The western MD 20 was decommissioned at that point.
What's amazing is there were shields for MD-20 up for another decade over. It was like up until 2010.
Yeah.
Then they finally took the shields down.
Not always very quick about
It was
removing
around the
things.
same time that was part of that exchange, and then also Merritt Boulevard, which we'll see later, becoming the MD-157, and that's another one.
All right, so fill in some history here. So the Baltimore Beltway was first proposed by Baltimore County. It was the Baltimore County Beltway in 1949. By 1953, the state took over the project. And then with the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, with the rise of the interstate system, that really got things going. The huge section of the Beltway, basically built from Maryland to going clockwise to US 40 East, was built between 1955 to 1962. Section we're on was built in 58, but the first two sections of the Beltway that were built were in the north and in the south. So, and basically near what is today I-83, the Harrisburg Expressway, but used to be US 111. Those were the earliest sections of 55 and 56. And then on the southern end in 57, from Maryland 168 to what is today I-97, the Glen Burnie bypass. And then everything kind of just filled in for the next few years there. And I'll go into further history when we get closer to the east side.
I think that covers us from here all the way around to Towson. We're past Towson towards Essex, right?
Yes, and in fact, we're approaching I-795. And again, something else, we're going to learn about a little more this evening is that 795 was supposed to continue south of the Beltway, was planned to continue south into Baltimore City. And as you can see here, it only goes in one direction, north. So we'll find out a little bit more about that this evening.
I think that was back in the old US 140 days, wasn't it?
Well, instead we have a subway line that
Something
goes
like
inside
was
from here.
decommissioned in 1979.
Yeah.
And,
Did you consider Metro?
Well, wrong Beltway for that now.
No, that's this Beltway.
Yeah, there are signs on 795 as you head past Owings Mills, that
Did you
huge
consider
park and
Metro?
ride that says, "Did you consider
Metro?"
Metro? Yeah. Yep.
Wrong Metro, okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Given there's absolutely zero cell coverage there, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yes, I get.
As we continue around, and we're now pointed eastward generally, the next interstate junction we'll come across is 83 as we head across the Baltimore County suburbs north of the city itself.
Never Pikes up here. And on the,
The original Beltway through here, as we outlined before, dates to the early 60s through this area. It's received a considerable amount of improvements in the years since then. I believe there's now an additional lane in each direction that wasn't there when it was built originally. And there are also other improvements such as interchange reconstructions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, very few roads were built as 8 lanes, so if you see 8 lanes, you can probably safely assume it was widened at some point.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, this section was originally built in 62.
you notice here how rural and tree lined it is. Baltimore County has an urban-rural demarcation line for development boundary, and this is the one sector of Baltimore County that managed to push back most against growth further north. You actually had along here on 129, you actually had a cornfield that was left inside the Beltway. It was still going on there. So there's no real. You're still left with no real good way between, say, Owings Mills and like Timonium and Schwann Road. You'd have to go on Belfast Road, which actually has a 1-lane bridge on it. That's actually the signed way to get to Reisterstown off of I-83 headed south.
A great place to leave giant stranded at the riverside, too.
Yeah. Go back to the farm, dream with my uncle by the fireside.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That was a Rush reference for those who don't know.
Yes.
For those too young. So yeah, between here and on I-83, everything basically west of from over till Falls Road Route 25 is pretty much part of that like very rural part where the boundary never got extended. The Beltway now is the boundary in that section.
Now there were plans for there were plans for planned development. In the plan, I think it was called like Plan for the Valleys or something, in the late 50s, early 60s. For the Green Spring Valley that never came to be. And it was actually a pretty cool plan that was going to have a lot of, different levels of housing and different features and things, and that never happened.
I don't know about you, but I think we just passed exit 22.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
Part of, a piece of that well north, floating piece used to be ND 519. So it just didn't make any real sense. Just this floating piece that the state purchased, and that was decommissioned probably in the late 70s. Still on some maps for a while. Okay, we're coming up on the Jones Falls Expressway exit here or the JFX for short.
One of two I-83 interchanges, because in spite of the fact that it doesn't continue through, there is a brief concurrency.
Yeah. It's called on the traffic report, you'll see passing through the 83s, both of these. So there's no, it's so short that there's no merge between. There's like three lanes of 695 and 2 of 83 on the right. And you can merge and swap across.
Well, what I love about this area is the fact that if you're on 83, you technically never have to change lanes, which is amazing, right? So it's basically like they laid the two highways next to each other. You still have the 3 lanes of 695, and then you have 2 lanes come in of 83, and then those 2 lanes go back out. So you basically, if you're on 83, you just stay in your lane and stay on 83. So I always thought that was kind of cool that it feels, it feels like there's 2 highways laid next to each other that you can go in between. But obviously, it's a concurrency.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it were PA, you'd have to take a ramp.
And there's a ramp stop at the end.
As I say, following 83 through Pennsylvania, you will in fact have a couple places where you have to do that.
Yeah. I think single lane ramps too. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. In both cases.
This was a trumpet interchange. It used to be this flyover was built in 1972 to replace the inner part of an inner ramp.
Right, and then they rebuilt this bridge up here and redid this interchange in like 2009.
Yeah.
Or so.
No, that sounds right. And then when we get up here, we get into some of the oldest section in Baltimore County, which was started in the late 50s.
Well, we're in that section now, honey. Yep. So, because basically, in the section between Maryland 25 Falls Road to Maryland 45, which we're approaching now, was open in 55 and in 56.
Yep.
And you have to remember this was US 111 at the time.
Yes, it was for that little section.
Yes.
Also, the ramp here off of York Road is one of the original. You can see the original curves from the original geometry. Only there were blades added to the right side, but to the left there was still the divider between these 2 ramps. Was the original? Hasn't changed in 60, 70 years now. So this interchange, this part of the interchange is interesting because inside that cloverleaf is the National Guard Armory, which they had to build around. Which is why they had to do
this road is built around multiple things.
Yeah. All right, I want to point out to y'all up here for exit 27. You notice how south is Towson and north is nothing for Maryland 146. I grew up in Jarrettsville, Maryland, and so I used to always say, ha ha ha, I live in Nowheresville, because see, There's no Control City on the sign.
We have both Jarrettsville and Jacksonville in the same county, in the same area. Then you've got Catonsville and Cockeysville in the same county. On the same side of town, you've got Randallstown and Reisterstown. You know, it's like, you gotta be careful. So,
Not only couldn't you pick a bill, but you couldn't just say the bills
and
or the towns.
And opposite the two corners, northern corners of Baltimore City, you've got Pikesville and Parkville.
Oh, Jesus.
The bills.
The Bills. Oh, I will say though, a cool thing right off that exit, you probably all saw the brown sign for the Hampton Mansion. That is a National Historic Site. I highly recommend it, especially at Christmas time. They really do it up really fancy, and it's also a look into the it's the Ridgely family, which were like the early family in Towson, Maryland, and there was slavery there. You can actually go to the slave quarters, and the descendants of those slaves are who settled East Towson. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
were they all freed during the Civil War then, or?
I mean, I don't remember specifically when they were freed. Maryland abolished slavery in 1864. By was it?
Okay, so
by the state law or constitution?
State law.
State law, yeah.
so therefore probably, unless there was a specific action sooner than that.
Right. So we're coming up on Perring Parkway. So we just passed. So we're broadcasting live today from Bel Air, Maryland.
That's
We
right.
just passed the Cromwell Bridge exit, which is the fastest way really to go from Towson to Bel Air. Is to take Cromwell Bridge Road to Glenarm Road up to Hartford Road. So you see, we're coming up on Perring Parkway. If the original plans had gone through, Perring Parkway would have continued north as Perring Freeway, and would have been a new freeway alignment of US 1 that would have hooked in to the Bel Air bypass and the Hickory bypass.
Instead, Maryland Route 41 ends at a stop sign not that far north of the Beltway.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And U.S. route becomes basically a substitute in many places.
Yes, it does. Although I will say, I have to also do a plug. I am a proud graduate of Morgan State University. Which,
All right.
Woo! So if you go south,
Is also on Maryland Route 41.
also
yes.
on Maryland Route 41.
Well, the city doesn't acknowledge that, of course.
Right.
Yeah. We don't
But
need their acknowledgement.
Got my master's in city and regional planning there in 2017. So I am a proud HBCU graduate.
All right.
It's also interesting. So you if you look at where the north end of Perring Parkway is, you can see where the right of way is clear. For if you have continued north of there, it is very obviously a stub end.
Yes, and there's a Perring Road too as well.
Right, I think a part of that they ended up making a park at a school. You go beyond the original patch of woods there.
Yes,
The idea would have been to get like the 6 lanes all the way from Baltimore to Trenton.
yes. Now we just passed, or did we just pass the Hartford Road?
We passed Hartford Road.
They redid that interchange fairly recently. And then we're now coming up on 43, White Marsh Boulevard. That was also planned to be,
This section was completed around 1992. And then the sections further east, it was finally completed all the way to Middle River in 2006.
yes, but it was originally planned to be limited access, and it ultimately became an expressway with traffic lights. Like 50 mile an hour.
It kind of has a parkway.
White Marsh
to the
Boulevard.
Curves on
Yeah.
no shoulders. It's just it's curves.
Yeah. Oh, look!
Down the
Control City Bel Air. Woo! Hey! Take it over. Take Route 1 and come see us.
That's
You
right.
can even roughly take Route 1 there from West Philadelphia.
West Philadelphia, born and raised.
On a playground, embarrassment, no smarties.
Now we're,
That's correct there. Bel Air Road is one word. Bel Air, the town, is 2 words.
and I am a proud planner for the town of Bel Air. So any questions about my our beautiful town, I'm happy to answer.
And your beautiful air, apparently.
My beautiful air, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we're now coming up on the northern 95-695 interchange.
which has been massively revamped
Massively.
about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it
And
was.
We'll take you to New York.
Yes, it will. New York is the control city.
Respect for Philly and Wilmington. In this
They're northbound on 24 as you approach US 1, the US 1 bypass. As far as I know, is the only appearance of Philadelphia on a BGS in Maryland.
Yeah, so what was cool about this interchange was the way that it used to ribbon was that the lane, you would actually, the through lanes would switch sides. I don't know what the name of that is.
Right about here would have been the left. It would have gone
like the way that it weaved through the basically the lanes, like you would have been driving on the left, I guess is my point.
The roadways crossed over each
For
other.
both the Beltway and for 95, and then the way it worked therefore was that the ramps for the movements that are functionally left turns would both then branch off and join in on the left side, but in doing so didn't have to cross any other roads to do this. So it was, if you look up old aerial imagery of it, if you've never experienced it personally, it was a very quirky looking interchange, but also kind of neat looking from the air.
Yeah, so it was about 2008 when you lost the when the configuration changed, when you lost the left exits. It was completed in 2014. It was mostly completed in 2014, and it was 2016 when they finally fixed it on the switch of directions on 695.
And all of this was to allow the construction of the I-95 express lanes, which originally were supposed to have a connection to the Beltway, and they don't. That was cut in order to cut costs from the project due to economic issues. But the 95 is wider and improved through that area anyway. Also coming up, we have this interchange with 702, which is a place the Beltway does something it was not originally intended to do.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, absolutely. So, see how we're actually getting onto the ramp, and we're taking a sharp turn west. So, 702 was meant to be the southeastern freeway. That would have gone down Back River Neck, would have turned turned west at Essex Sky Park, and then reconnected with where 695 is today at around, what's the name of the road, honey?
Around Wise Avenue. They go to the alignment of Wise Avenue down below Cove Road.
Cove Road, yeah. So there's a huge, the lanes get really far apart there. And that's where it would have come in.
You'll see here.
So what we came onto instead is what was planned to be the windless freeway, and then soon we're going to take another sharp turn south onto what would have been the
And you will not miss that
freeway.
sharp turn, trust me.
No, and so there's a lot of really cool history here. So basically, I don't even know where to start. So we're currently on the windless, which was planned to go from I-95 at Moravia Road to go east from there.
And from 95 in that area, you can see some signs of there meant to be another freeway connection in there. Also, remember how I said you wouldn't miss the curve?
Yeah, here's the curve, right? So ultimately, this would have continued straight into Moravia Road.
Pardon the
That's also
toddler.
why there's no exit 37.
Right, yeah, so this is why there's no exit 37, because this would have been exit 37. So basically the windless freeway would, in the other direction would have continued towards Chase, Maryland. What is she playing with?
The toy truck thing.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so, and then, where we turned south, northward was where the Patapsco freeway would have continued and would have connected, how when we were passing 95, it would have connected in between 95 and somewhere between 95 and Route 40. So what's kind of interesting about this, so the sections that were built, right, of the Patapsco and the windlass, exits 36 to 42, were built between 1966 and 1974. The section of the Patapsco, the northern section that was not built, it was stopped with a lawsuit to stop the section north of US 40 to 695. And so for a while, they actually planned to just end it at US 40 and just dump everyone there onto 40 to then go connect to 695, which would have been a traffic nightmare. So at the time, county executive Spiro Agnew, good old infamous Spiro Agnew. Yeah, that guy, right? So what he ultimately proposed for the state to do is what eventually got built. Was like, oh, well, instead of, building the Patapsco, why don't you just, loot people on these other freeways? So $9.8 million was spent on the section that was never built, and I have a personal family connection, actually. My grandparents in 1967 bought a house at auction on Burkefield Road for $700. It cost them $3,000 to move it from Burkefield Road to their farm in Chase, Maryland. They sold those houses at auction pretty quietly while this lawsuit was going on. And
they presumed they were going to win, of course.
Yes, they presumed they were going to win. They didn't. So those lots were actually later redeveloped in the 1980s. So what's fascinating is that neighborhood is, the section that didn't get lost, didn't get sold off is still there. The 1906, the older houses, and then the same lots were used to build new houses in the 80s. So that is my fun claim to fame, family fame.
It seems like this section of the Beltway is far less traveled.
Oh, it definitely is.
Well, it is, and a lot of that too is that because of the proximity to Chesapeake Bay, there's not nearly as much going on, on the east side here. It's also a lot closer to I-95 in the first place.
Right.
The biggest thing here is that if you're a truck carrying hazmats, this is the way you're routed to go because they don't want you going through the tunnels.
Right.
And I have, when I was down in this area this morning, or in Dundalk, I noticed there was a lot of warehouses, distribution centers.
Yes.
Yeah, Sparrow's Point has really come back to life.
It
in the
has.
last 10 years or so, yeah.
Yes. So, Sparrow's Point, for those not from the area, was the home of Bethlehem Steel. That's how we Baltimoreans say it. Now here, where the lanes split, this is where the Southeast Freeway would have come in.
Yeah.
So anyway, Bethlehem Steel was there. It slowly shut down, but then completely shut down in 2012, and then is now being redeveloped as a freight logistics village, and is now called Trade Point Atlantic.
There's a lot happening there now.
There's a huge amount happening.
There's a huge Amazon center there. Yeah.
Home Depot distribution, FedEx ground, Trade Point, you name it.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about this section of 695, and we sort of alluded to this earlier, right? So everything, east of US 40 East was built and still is Maryland 695. It's considered a non-chargeable interstate in Maryland, which means that the mileage doesn't count towards mileage counts, but it is on the NHS, the National Highway System. Basically, it was on a lot of it was on a viaduct until about the year 2000.
It was a 2-lane viaduct. Okay, right here is the change of maintenance to MDTA.
Another reason why there was some iffiness about this, right,
maintains right here.
being officially part of the interstate system is that for a while it indeed was only one lane each way, which an interstate is normally not supposed to be.
Right. Now we're at the official changeover.
Yeah.
Coming up on the Key Bridge. The Key Bridge was actually originally planned as a tunnel. And when the bids came in 1970, it was determined that was too high, so that they were going to build a bridge instead. So the Key Bridge, named after the famous Francis Scott Key, who penned our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, at Fort McHenry. The bridge was built between 1972 and 1977. And it, as someone previously mentioned, is, the way you have to go if you have hazmats.
So it's a good thing they did build this bridge. Otherwise, they would have had to route hazmats around the west side.
Yeah.
They would not have permitted
Wouldn't have been able to hold them.
Should be noted that while Fort McHenry is closer into the downtown part of Baltimore, there is a Fort Armstead at the western end of the Key Bridge. I was considering going to that this morning.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
I decided because it was really foggy and rainy, I'm just like, yeah.
It also should be noted here that right, while the events described in the Star Spangled Banner, which was written as a poem before it was set to the music of a song called "To an Akron in Heaven," were taking place over Fort McHenry, they were observed by Francis Scott Key from a ship out in Baltimore Harbor. So this bridge that bears his name would have been probably not that far away from where he was actually floating at the time.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, so much of the original plan here was for the tunnel, and they were committed to building a tunnel here, and then I find it really interesting that they just were able to flip 180 degrees almost overnight and be like, oh, you know what? Let's just do a bridge instead. And
I wonder if part of that, and I don't know this, maybe husband you could fill in. I wonder if part of that is because, spoiler alert for this evening's episode, is that they ended up building the other tunnels instead, which were not originally planned.
Well, part of it too, the original plan for a crossing would have been a bridge back in the 40s, but back at that time, the Dundalk Marine Terminal was the municipal airport. So that was the reason they were worried about aircraft in the area, because at that point, and there's a place right off of Burning Highway, you can see the old aircraft tower that you can see. It looks distinctive. And later on they built BWI, or originally Friendship Airport, and then later BWI under state auspices. And there was no longer that concern about low-flying aircraft in that area.
Yeah.
So the Key Bridge would have interfered with that. The bridge here would have interfered with that more if the marine terminal was still the airport. But it's like I remember this reminds me. There's a movie from 1978 with Al Pacino called the.
Speaking of low-flying things,
there's
look at low-flying seagulls.
Yeah, and they fly. Part of it is a guy as a judge. He flies a Bell helicopter at a Martin State Airport, and he's like flies in this scene. He flies under the Key Bridge, which would have just been built. And then he also does a piece like over Fort McHenry and into old-looking Fells Point from that era, which is still semi-abandoned for being, possibly run over by 95. So it's an interesting look into the past. So here we are at the highest point. There's a slight sliver of Anne Arundel County, and then there is Baltimore City. Baltimore City waters.
I'm going to add a little more history.
Yeah, okay.
So by the early 1980s is when the southern approach to the Key Bridge was dualized, with a secondary roadway constructed along with a second drawbridge over Curtis Creek. And we already kind of talked about, earlier about Sparrows Point, how that was originally the two-lane viaduct.
Yeah, this side was two-lane also, but it was dualized earlier. And then this exit 1 here, this originally was exit 45. Because the reset of the mileage is not till the center of the Curtis Creek drawbridge.
Right, and you may notice if you've been paying attention to the mile markers, they're higher than 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
You stayed sequentially, except for 37. So, they knew they were going to have, like when they first built it, they knew they were going to have 11 for 95 coming in. Otherwise, it kept pretty well to that. But, yeah. I think they wanted to say, the exit numbers should start over at the, nobody cares as much about the drawbridge versus the Key Bridge. I think also it prevents having mile markers restart in the middle of the bridge when you have incidents there.
Whoa.
The Curtis Creek drawbridge could be considered literally the buckle in the belt.
Yeah, again, another drawbridge on a signed interstate highway that it's referred to in the state highway log as State Route 695. But for the purposes of this discussion, there's a theme today in this episode of drawbridges on interstate highways.
Woo!
So,
Well, I remember too, back around North Point, back there around exit 40, I remember back in the 80s, there was a barrel of 695 shield there.
mhm.
And that was replaced with a, not soon after that, so here we go, we were going Curtis Creek, which also there's also a Coast Guard station there
Yeah.
for Baltimore. So if you look carefully here, we'll see is it 51-2. All right, there we go. And then right in the middle, there's mile 0.
Yeah, mile 0 on the Beltways right there. Yep.
Yeah. That's probably easier to measure there because it's, than to figure out where the center is. All right, and also you just entered Anne Arundel County out of the city. But this is still MDTA maintenance over until you hit near Maryland County.
Yeah, I think it's MDTA maintenance within its entire path through Baltimore City.
Yeah.
Am I right about that?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
That
and
would
that's
be-
also doing Baltimore City a favor because SHA does not maintain anything within Baltimore City. So
Yeah.
this way the city doesn't have to maintain it.
Yeah,
Yep.
the JFX within Baltimore City is city DOT and maintain
And it shows.
Yes.
Yep.
So here we go. It's,
Exit 3, next exit's 2.
that would be the beginning of the original, the original part of the 1962 Beltway.
Yeah.
And right here we have the looks like one of Maryland's finest right there. That's where the maintenance changes.
Yeah, right. It's right here, I guess, right?
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Pavement change.
So there's also
Pulled over
the
here,
MBTA has a separate police force.
Well, Dan slowed down quite a bit, if you noticed.
I noticed that.
I love the ones where they have like your speed and have it blinking up there.
Oh, you mean the high score?
High score! High score! There's a
The reason a lot of those now will just say slow down if you go more than like 10 over because they're specifically trying to prevent people from seeing what kind of high score they can get.
See, how high can this thing
Right.
detect, you know?
remember the old
Or
days when
the
speedometers
game
were
I like
above
to play is how low
85.
can it detect?
Well, or also there is a certain someone who will not be named who did mention once that he made one of those things read 05, which answers that question if you ever were wondering.
Oh, interesting.
So this here, west. We're heading west towards Towson. But the original, like the first part of the Beltway to be finished, as a corridor, was the Anne Arundel County portion as a surface boulevard through this area.
So it had a rail crossing.
Yes, it had a rail crossing coming up here at exit 6 in Maryland, MD 170, and that was the last one. I don't know if that went first or the one on 395 in Virginia.
Oh, I don't know.
There was one down there in Arlington. Okay, here's the merge in from I-97.
The railroad crossing on what's now I-395 in Virginia was eliminated at some point in the 1960s, and that one was only ever on a short railroad spur. It was never a through line.
There was also a railroad crossing on I-87 for a short while just before the Twin Bridges.
Yeah. One of the guys I used to talk to on amateur radio, he would talk about how that he worked for Westinghouse down down around Linthicum here, and he was talking about how this bridge, like, there was that grade crossing there, and that was still for the longest time. And he was, of course, now older in the hills. I'm sure he's not with us anymore, but you have that kind of memories of that, and then looking here at like what it is now.
Coming up on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, you may recall this intersecting the other Beltway we took a tour of before.
That's correct.
This is the other end of it. It is part of Maryland Route 295 up here, however.
Yeah, this is state maintained down to Maryland 175.
Further south, it does not carry that designation because it is maintained by the National Park Service. Up. Basically, the idea was it was the federally maintained road serving Fort Meade.
This is where we could use
The honorary
CPZ right
names.
about now, because he could
The
go on
honorary
like an
names.
hour-long rant about
Right.
that road.
There 168 Nursery Road, that's the exit with all the fast food. And I think it was G&M crab cakes are there too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then exit 9 will be in Baltimore County.
Holland's Pie Road.
Yeah. And then
Holland's Ferry.
so this is the equivalent.
It says
This is
five.
the crossing of the
P5
Patapsco
for
River.
plum.
This is the
I spell
equivalent
it English,
to. This would be the equivalent to the Legion Bridge right here, but it's not really anything important.
Yeah.
But this first bridge right here, that's I-895, which only has access to and from the north, so it doesn't really play in here.
Well, yeah, deliberately designed
Yeah.
such that you can't use it without going through the toll plaza.
Right. Yes.
All right.
Oh no, I miss them.
The obscure Baltimore edition of alternate Route 1. Not very long.
Holland's Ferry Road, and then crossing it over there, over on the just on the right is Hammond's Ferry Road. So more
No, geez.
alliteration to confuse you.
More ferries.
More ferries.
More ferry.
Okay, there's a modern symbol for BWI.
The modern.
One also.
Oh, look what we're approaching.
Washington Boulevard.
Washington, hon.
Man, this lap has gone by pretty quick. We're almost at the end of it. What else? Do we want to say anything else about this area, or do you think we covered it pretty good?
I think we'll have plenty more to say about Baltimore this evening.
Oh, I know. I'm
That
just
helps
talking
us out
about
here.
I'm just talking about the Beltway in general.
Yeah.
There you see the next interstate highways listed there.
Yeah. I like that they have those mileages listed there to give you that.
How many miles of pain do you have before your exit?
It's not that painful. There
This
are far
road
worse
is-
roads you can
This
see
road
on.
is not that bad, yeah.
They really like to put their shields on.
This road's less painful than the other Beltway, frankly.
Well, that's true too.
Oh, yeah, I do want to.
They upgraded here the ramp from coming from Southwestern Boulevard, which is the standard US 1, which had minimal connection to the Beltway. They had it coming off a side road, a side street, Leeds Road, and they've moved that now to come directly off of Washington Boulevard, headed northbound. So now that's coming. That's going to be coming in here, right parallel to the northeast.
Right,
corridor.
and
It's
with
coming
that
in-
merge from 95 back there, we have completed the loop.
We have completed the loop.
Yes.
I do want to point out, because we passed about a minute or so ago a work zone sign, that the website for more information is marylandroads.com spelled out, because husband secured mdroads.com before the state could.
Well, I saw a sign out in Allegheny County. I saw a sign out in Allegheny County in US 220 that did say mdroads.com.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
They'd be feeling sorry if they weren't looking for state signs.
DrRoads.com.
Wonder how much money you could make selling
I
the
just count
domain.
down the roads. We
Dr. Roads.
don't stop till we get to the top.
Yes.
We have any closing thoughts on Baltimore or this episode in general before we wrap up?
I think we're done going around in circles.
Yeah, I think we've gone in enough circles for the one episode.
Get the gas.
hooray! Says Rainy.
So we're gonna wrap this stream up, and we're gonna take a break because we're gonna be back in 3.5 hours roughly for the next show.
Yeah.
But really want to thank everybody who tuned in today. Our friends Mike and Laura for hosting us today. Also Corco, Scott, Anthony, and Doug.
Word.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your contributions.
And of
this
course,
afternoon.
Rainy.
And and of course Rainy for adding the soundtrack to today's episode. I'm sure she'll be back tonight, so
It's the music of our lives.
join us.
Wait, that's standards.
Speaking of music, we could have had some music today if Daddy didn't think ahead to unplug the keyboard.
Oh,
It's likely better
yeah, right.
better not.
She knows more about that keyboard than I do.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Rainy can play the finale at the end.
Oh boy.
Well, we'll put her on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want any unscheduled performances.
Anyway, thanks to all for joining me today. Thanks for watching. Thank you to all of you for your contributions. Look forward to seeing you right back here
Hooray!
and Rainy at 6 o'clock tonight for part 2 of our doubleheader on New Year's Day. So,
Hooray!
Yay!
See you then.
And that's a wrap!